Hello, comrades. Um, we are. We started the room a little bit early to give people time to. There we go. Time to get in here. We're about to start. It won't be long. Tonight we're going to be discussing. I guess we'll start with the short thing. Probably. We'll be discussing the EF3 tornado that struck Gaylord, Michigan. That happened before last week's stream, but we spent that whole stream talking about the hashtag put in a ticket movement, which I have a link for you. It will be in the comments. That link is our update on the put in a ticket protest at the Dollar General shareholders meeting in Goodlettsville, Tennessee. Anyway, we are going to talk about the EF3 tornado in Gaylord. We're going to talk about how, communities in general need to take weather threats more seriously, if for no other reason than climate change. But northern Michigan isn't used to getting tornadoes at all, right? Let alone an EF3. They don't even have tornado sirens, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. We're going to be talking about the shooting in Uvalde, Texas at Robb Elementary. Feel free to correct me if I'm not pronouncing that right. But there's a lot to talk about in regards to that shooting. And also, this also happened before last week's stream, but we didn't talk about it much. But we will be talking about the Buffalo shooting as well. So I think that I'm going to let the music play for right about another minute. And I'm going to use that time to share the stream into groups, etc. If you could take the time to do the same, that would be greatly appreciated. All right, I am back. Are you ready, Trisha?
Almost. Give me just a moment here. I've got to pull up the Google Doc.
All right.
Uh,
All right. I think I'm gonna kick off this discussion here.
right
All
out.
right. Kill the music. Damn it. All right. So I have so many freaking windows open. There we go.
Right.
Okay. Oh, it shows a gray square for you with your camera off. That's weird. I would have thought that it was
Isn't it
just.
awesome?
You would think that it would just like take it off.
Or even like pop up the little like circle with my profile picture in there or something. I don't know. Give me just
And
a moment and
name.
I'll get that
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
That's all right. Anyway, welcome. I hope you've all had a good week. I am feeling quite a bit better than last week, so that's a plus. I'm back to work. That's not a plus.
Damn it. They were like, as soon as your COVID cooties test comes back negative, you're back to work.
Yeah, which I mean, it wasn't really that bad. I mean, to be honest, before COVID, I probably would have went to work like that.
Right.
Um, anyway, I want to take one more opportunity here to plug. The link is in the comments to plug our update on the put in a ticket protest. Um, Mary sent us quite a lot, actually, of pictures and videos. We've got links to the Facebook Lives in there. We have a lot of pictures, quite a lot of pictures. People came from all over the country. There was music, there was speakers. I mean, it was solid. Um,
Right.
they were denied entry to the shareholders meeting, even though they were shareholders. One of them was one of the leaders of the Poor People's Campaign, um, Reverend Dr. Reverend, there we go, William Barber III. I also have marched in solidarity with him, actually, here in Phoenix. Jesse Jackson was also there, but I'm getting off topic. Anyway, the Poor People's Campaign was involved, and Dr. Reverend Barber was, um, along with the employees themselves, were excluded from the shareholders meeting, even though they're shareholders.
Right. I found that fucked up when I was watching the videos. Like, seriously, how are you going to be like, oh, this is a shareholders meeting, except for the shareholders who are standing in solidarity with the labor?
Right,
What the fuck?
right, yeah. And I mean, it's important to note that Dr. Reverend William Barber II is not a Dollar General employee, um, but he owns a share. Why was he not allowed in?
Hmm. Right. And
I
I'm
wish that there
guessing
would have
that
been video of that because I'm sure that he was not quiet about it.
um nobody was peaceful. At least what I saw in the video, he was loudly knocking on the door saying, "We are shareholders. We need to
Right,
come in. This is a shareholders meeting and we are shareholders." And
right.
by that we, I'm guessing that at least some of the employees that were there are also shareholders too, not just employees. Um but like yeah, Natalie, that's what I'm guessing. They meant the big shareholders of like maybe you have to have so many shares to fucking qualify for their stupid meetings. I'm of the frame of mind of I don't care if you only own one. You're a fucking shareholder. You have the right to be there.
Agreed. Hi, Emily. Hi, Wade. Hi, Natalie. Welcome to the
Hello,
party.
all. Indeed.
Hoping to see James join us. Actually, I have my phone out right here. I can literally open the stream and tag him. He's
That
probably at
works.
work, but it is at a
Probably.
different time. So, you know.
Right.
Anyway, there we go. I tagged him. Moving on. So Trisha, I don't know how familiar with Gaylord you are. Um,
Only a little
like,
bit.
fair
Haven't
enough.
spent much time there, but
I think what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna pull up on Google Maps where Gaylord is,
okay.
just to give everybody a bit of an idea, and I can like paint a picture
Yeah.
by showing you.
Northern central middle of fucking nowhere, Michigan.
Exactly. Hold on, let me pop up the satellite because that makes a
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is flat and it is full of trees, right? So even straight line wind events here are not common.
Right.
When this storm blew in, right, there were sustained winds, and when I say blew in, I mean off of Lake Michigan. Storms always gain power over the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
When it blew in
But
south of Charlevoix here, there was 75-mile-per-hour sustained winds. That is hurricane force winds.
yeah.
Okay. And then it started dropping baseball's hail. And then it put a tornado down in the middle of the state. Since national databases have been tracking tornadoes in 1950, there has never been a tornado in the Gaylord area. Now, the reason that I bring that up is because they're not the only area that's like that, right? There's a lot of towns in northern Michigan, I guess, to tie it into this tornado. But in a lot of areas that don't have tornado sirens, they don't have any sort of early warning system. And
They haven't needed it. It's not an area that fucking gets them like downstate. Downstate, we would get them a lot, but that far north and, you know, inland and surrounded by fucking enormous areas of woods, it's just rare.
I actually want to bring this map back up to say that where I grew up, you see this little green dot here, Tawas City, right? Okay, so most of the time, I'm not saying that we never had, tornadoes on the ground in Tawas. There have been. Actually, our hospital opened like 6 months early because of a tornado. But that was in the 50s. I wasn't there. Anyway, the point is that most of the storms before producing tornadoes make it out over Lake Huron, and then basically from Thunder Bay down to the Saginaw Bay, you get a lot of water spouts that are, right off the shore. But for an 3 tornado, right, to put a tornado down that went through the city of Gaylord, or is it technically a city? The town limits?
Town, maybe. I mean,
It's not very big, as
very
you see.
small.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as you can see from when it was zoomed out, like it is all heavily surrounded by forest. Like
Yeah.
you have to drive through hella forests to even get there.
Yeah.
It's not like downstate where it's much more wide open and valleys and stuff where we typically get them like in Genesee County, where I'm from, we would get them all the time. It was so common we'd sit outside and just watch the storms. But
Yeah.
up there, it's fucking unheard of. Hi,
Pretty
Vivian.
much. Yeah.
Welcome.
Anyway, I guess instead of just showing you where, I should tell you what. There was a tornado last Friday. It was an EF3. I forget exactly what the wind speeds were. Actually, let me Google. I should have put this in the notes. EF3 wind speeds. And that'll at least give us a range. Okay, and EF3 is 136 to 165 mile per hour wind speeds. There we go.
And that's in the road
It destroyed.
itself, right? And it was
Yeah,
moving
yeah,
at,
yeah.
wasn't it moving at like, 75 miles an hour or something?
It was like 50. It was like 55, I think.
Oh,
But that's still
still
like
pretty fucking fast to plow through. And with rotational winds of, what'd you say, 130?
100 and 136 to 150 or 165. Sorry.
Right. That's,
Um,
it's, it's insane. It's devastating. I
yeah,
mean, this small town, has a lot of smaller neighborhoods that are trailer parks that were completely fucking destroyed. Businesses completely destroyed. There's photos that I saw of like their RV dealership where everything was flipped the hell over. This was intense.
yeah. So I have to wonder if it is in part due to climate change. Remember, we were getting tornadoes. I mean, not we, but the U.S. was getting tornadoes in like January,
Right,
and we're just all like, "What the fuck?"
right,
Um, so scientists say there's not enough data to draw conclusions, but that doesn't mean they're not worried
right.
about what the increasingly warm atmosphere has in store for storms and tornado activity. And I think the last 2 or 3 years, we're just starting to get a glimpse. I mean, hurricane season starts in a little over 2 weeks, you guys. If you live in a coastal region by the Gulf, stay alert.
Right. Be prepared.
If they tell you to go, don't
Go.
don't be like, "Oh, I'll just brave it out. It's going to be fine." Stop that shit.
Right. Right.
Um,
That's not proving anything to anybody to be like, I'm gonna stand my ground to a tornado. It's or a hurricane, like these are massive fucking storms. Get the hell out of the way. You know?
mm-hmm.
Make sure, okay,
Exactly.
it, make sure you have supplies ahead of time. Start stocking up right now. Make sure that you have canned food, that you have plenty of water. If you have a generator, make sure that you fill up your gas cans and stuff like that. Be ready with a game plan to get the fuck out of Dodge and get further inland to safe shelter.
So back to Gaylord, there is a NOAA, not NOAA, National Weather Service station in Gaylord. So actually, like seeing some updates in fucking real time on social media was kind of wild because like it went from a severe thunderstorm warning to a tornado warning. There was no tornado watch. I mean, it was only supposed to be it was supposed to be lower down in the state, right? Like up there should have only been a like 1% chance, but the whole storm tracked north. So what do you do, I guess? Anyway, the big message from Gaylord is that even in places like northern Michigan where you're like, oh, there's not going to be a tornado here, pay attention. Like make
Watch
sure
weather.
that you're getting weather updates. And if there is a severe weather warning, have a plan. It's pretty self-explanatory. Check the radio, get a weather radio and see what NOAA is saying. That's the
Right.
National Oceanic and I forget what the first day is.
I do too, but
They do weather.
um,
Listen to
I mean,
them.
hell, even if all you have is your cell phone, pull up the radar and watch the storm, see where it's tracking. You know?
Yeah. But scientists I wish. Oh, I do have a. Okay. This quote is going to be from Jonathan Overpack, Dean and Professor at the University of Michigan School for Environment and Sustainability, said the atmosphere is warming, which can lead to bigger thunderstorms. That, in turn, can cause bigger tornadoes. It can also lead to longer warm periods, which lengthens tornado season. Plus, there's some evidence of a geographical shift. Tornadoes are more frequently occurring in northern areas, not just Michigan, including Michigan, of course, but Tornado Alley over the past few years is tracking further north and kind of further south at the other end of it. Not as much, I would say, but and we're getting more tornadoes more frequently, and they're more powerful.
Yeah. That's
Perry, sorry, what?
I was just to say, like, it might take them some time to actually analyze all the data and be able to compare that to other things going on, as far as climate change goes, to be able to conclusively, you know, be able to say, yeah, this is because of it. But honestly, I won't be surprised if and when they do, because look at how much these weather systems have changed just even in our lifetimes.
Yeah. Yeah. With the possibility of more frequent and stronger tornadoes, Overpeck says, who was Overpeck? Was he the first guy? Yes, Jonathan Overpeck, Dean and Professor at University of Michigan School for Environment and Sustainability. Sorry, you guys. Anyway, fuck, where was I?
Uh,
Oh, Overpeck says it's critical for Michigan cities to be prepared with proper infrastructure, places to hide, and a good warning system. That's the part that I'm trying to stress here. There was no warning system. Even if you never need a tornado siren, your town should have one.
just in case.
Right. I mean, that could also signify other things like an air raid or an incoming nuclear bomb. Most cities got sirens during the Cold War because of the nuclear threat.
Right.
Why didn't Gaylord?
I don't know if they had no way to warn people. And
Yeah. I mean, especially it touched down in a fucking mobile home park.
right.
The fact that there was only 2 people killed is pretty astonishing, actually.
Right. I don't
And there
know
was,
what the severity of the injuries were for the other 44 that were hurt, but I mean, yeah, that is downright fucking surprising that only 2 people died with that touching down in a mobile home park. You know, they're lucky.
we did show you guys some video of it when we briefly discussed it last week. So check out last week's current event stream. It's towards the end. But if you want to see videos of it, or just go on YouTube and type in Gaylord tornado, honestly. At this point, you can find compilations where, media organizations put a bunch together so that way you don't have to scroll through a bunch of 1-minute videos. Point is, though, it's there. Watch it. Listen to what the people are saying in real time, and you'll really get a feel for how terrified they were. I mean, it's like the middle of the day. Most of these videos are people in their cars going places like, oh, fuck, what do I do?
Right. Dude, one of the ones that killed me was there was literally still people in line trying to get a fucking burger at um oh god, I can't think of the name of the place.
Culver's?
Culver's, yes. And it it was mind blowing because people were literally bitching at the people working there, wanting to know what the fuck's taking so long to get their fucking food. And it's like a tornado just hit. Part of the building's damaged. Fuck off. Like, what are you doing? Being like, well, yep, destructive storm, time to get a burger. Here, Michigan. Fuck.
In some cases, with extraordinarily strong twisters, nothing can be done to save your car or your house, but a warning system saves lives. But when you get up to the EF3 and above, it really doesn't matter what your house is made of. You're in trouble.
Yeah.
And you can see those in damage. You can see those in damage pictures. How some houses were picked up and literally turned on their foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you want to be in the basement. That's your best protection. Once again, that was Samson. I want to talk to Samson. No, Perry Sampson is the professor for atmospheric science at University of Michigan.
Gaylord opts to use the code red, an alert system that sends geographically targeted and time sensitive information to the residents via text instead of sirens. But if you don't see your phone, you know, like, how are you going to get the message? It's the county's only method for communicating in emergencies, and it's a double edged sword. It can reach further, but not everyone has phones within arm's reach. Not everybody keeps it glued to their side at all times, you know?
You know, if it was really about saving lives, wouldn't they do both?
You would think. You would think. Can't be that fucking expensive to put in a siren system.
No, and I mean, obviously, the rural areas, that's kind of a different story. But I mean, like in the town, this literally went through the town. It wasn't in the outlying areas, it was right through the middle of town.
Right. Well, think about it. Everywhere surrounding it is a whole bunch of, very tall, old trees. This is very old forest surrounding it. That was the one pretty level area that it was able to actually touch ground. And
And it went like
it
26 miles or something like that.
mhm, had to have covered pretty much the whole stretch of town. Like, it's not that big of a city. Um, it's just crazy, you know. Michigan's often considered a refuge from climate crisis, a place where people will move as wildfires and droughts continue to ravage the Southwest states. But, Michigan can be this place, and the possibility of more tornadoes doesn't change that. But preparing for climate change is thinking ahead. It's crucial to build the infrastructure that can better withstand extreme weather events.
Yeah. It's important to realize this is Overpeck. This is the dean again from University of Michigan. Believes Michigan. I'm sorry. I almost just read the same thing that you did. No, he said, quote, "It's important to realize nobody's a winner if we let climate change get out of control. The big thing here is when we build infrastructure, build for future, build for climate change. Don't build for the past."
Right. When we can see the weather patterns changing and actually putting storms in areas that they are not typical to, it's time to, you know, get with the shit that's happening now and not just look at, well, it hasn't historically happened here. Well, it is now. Think,
Yeah.
how many of those injured people, or even the two dead, could have, potentially had a better outcome if they'd had a fucking siren warning to even get somewhere to save shelter, you know? Granted,
And I mean, that being said, it is a miracle that only 2 people died.
right. It really is.
I mean, but think about if that was, for example, think about if that was like, at night when it's dark,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, at least in this case, it was during the day and people could see it and try to fucking avoid it, right?
Right.
Not like you can outrun a tornado. That's not what I'm saying at all. But if you see it going that way, you bet your ass I'm going that way.
Right. And if it doesn't look like it's moving at all, it's most likely coming towards you. It's either coming directly towards you or directly away from you. Go the fuck to the left or the right as quickly and as far as you can. Get out of its path, you know?
Right. So now I guess we get to talk about the shooting in Uvalde, Texas. I've honestly been dreading this. I hate talking about these kind of things, but there is a lot to talk about with this shooting. There's quite a bit to talk about with the Buffalo one too, but this one's a lot more in depth and a lot more fresh. So the fucking police chief today said that they made the quote wrong decision not to breach the classroom doors during the shooting.
Gee, you think?
Like, are they really trying to fucking oops, my bad?
Yeah, after so many cops sat out there literally saying that they were afraid to go in because they might get shot. Fuck you. Fuck you. That's your job to take that risk, not a bunch of fourth graders. Fuck you for that, if any of them are listening. Pussy.
So there have been 3 Supreme Court rulings over the last 30 years or so that say that cops don't have to put their lives on the line to defend other lives.
Then what the fuck are we paying them for?
Exactly.
That's right.
We arm them like a military. In fact, if we were to look at police budgets in the US as a military budget, it would be the 3rd largest in the world. And we're number 1.
This town that this happened in, the police got like half of the city's fucking budget. And still sat there with their dicks in their hands, doing nothing. Some of the pigs fucking ran in there to get their own kids out and then refused to go back in to help other people's kids. They were tasing people for trying to go in to get their own children out.
So there are a few things. There's some videos that we're going to play after we talk about it a little bit. But there is a man who lost his daughter and his niece commenting on the officers in action. If what I have read is correct, that's the same man that was taken to the ground by 6 police officers because he was going to go in there and fucking do what he could to save his daughter's life.
Right. Now she's gone. He could have actually saved her. Why are these pigs entitled to run in to pull only their own kids out, but other parents aren't? What the fuck?
Right. There was a mother that was arrested after being put in handcuffs, by the way. She, they let her out of the handcuffs. She went around the fucking corner, jumped the wall, got her own kid out, and got arrested.
Yep. She's a hero, not these fucking pigs. The fact that they could sit there and do nothing for, at first they were reporting that it was a little shy of an hour. The stuff I've seen updated today was that it was actually more like an hour and a half that this was going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, from the initial shooting, because remember, he shot his grandmother in the face and stole her truck. From the time of the first shooting to the time that from the time that the first shooting was reported, I should say, to the time that he got to the school was 12 minutes. There was police behind him when he had his grandmother's truck, right? They didn't, do anything. They stayed back because he had body armor and he was scary. He didn't have body armor, by the way. He had an empty plate carrier vest, which wouldn't have stopped a fucking BB.
Right. So he's an idiot on top of it. But one of the things that I saw today, I believe I put it in Slack, is that there's actually a fucking federal agent who has been in contact with the shooter, and the shooter messaged him beforehand telling him that he was going to go shoot the fucking school up. Why didn't this federal agent do anything? Why is this federal agent not in fucking cuffs right now?
Yeah. If that was in Slack by like 4 o'clock or so, then it should be covered in this. But Texas Governor Greg Abbott told reporters that he was misled by authorities in the initial days after the shooting, and he is livid. While a gunman was inside adjoining classrooms with children, a group of 19 law enforcement officers stood in a hallway outside and took no action as they waited for room keys and tactical equipment. The on-scene commander claims to have believed the situation had transitioned from active shooter to barricaded subject. I don't care if the walls are made of bricks. If there's shooting happening inside, you're going to hear it outside.
Right.
It's okay, James. We're only about a half hour in. We started late, too.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd also like to point out that the White House refused to call for an investigation into the police response to the school shooting because Joe fucking Biden said that he, quote, has the utmost respect for the men and women of law enforcement. So you're not even going to investigate why the fuck they didn't do their job? That's not something to respect. That's something to call them the fuck out for.
Agreed. Anyway, at the same time that the on-scene commander claims to have believed that the situation had transitioned from active shooter to barricaded subject, at the same time, children in the classrooms repeatedly were calling 911 and pleading for help.
Yep.
Quote, from the benefit of hindsight, where I'm sitting right now, of course it was not the right decision. It was the wrong decision, period. There's no excuse for that. Like I said, they're literally trying to, oops, my bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This isn't
in all,
bad.
over 80 minutes passed between when officers were first called to the school, not, for him shooting his grandmother, but to the school. Over 80 minutes passed between when officers were first called and when a tactical team entered the classrooms and killed the gunman at 12:50 p.m.
And by the way, it wasn't even any of the fucking cops called to the scene. It was an off-duty border patrol agent that finally said, fuck this, and went in and took the guy down.
Well, I mean, from what I was reading today, it seems that it wasn't just an off-duty border patrol agent. There were several off-duty border patrol agents that formed a squad and swept the building. It wasn't one guy, it was several.
Okay.
But
well, all I had found when digging through the reports on it was that it was an off-duty border patrol agent that finally took him the fuck out. Didn't realize he had backup from other border patrol agents, but, what the
But what does it say about the state police, about the sheriff's department, and about the city police, as well as the school resource officer who supposedly doesn't exist today, that the commander was thanking yesterday?
The school system itself for that elementary school has 5 police plus a security officer.
Yes. And yesterday they were heralding the brave resource officer that tried to stop the shooter before he went in, and then now today they're saying that there was no resource officer on duty.
Right.
So, like, is he a hero or does he not exist?
Yesterday,
which is it?
Yeah, yesterday they were saying that he got shot trying to stop the guy as he was first entering the building.
So right, that's why they were calling him a hero. So,
no.
What the fuck? Anyway, within that period, 18-year-old Salvador Ramos killed 19 children and 2 teachers. So this is at least the 30th shooting at a K-12 school in 2022. What the fuck does that even mean? At least? You mean to tell me that you don't know? Which brings me to the point that maybe we, as in the public, should start keeping track of these. But then Texas Governor Greg Abbott went on to say that the massacre could have been much worse.
Fuck you, Greg Abbott.
I mean, even...
That's just so
even the law enforcement response suggests that it could have been way better. All they would have had to do is try.
I'm pretty sure the only school shooting in history that was worse than this one was Columbine, where there was 20 people killed, 20 students killed. So for him to be like, well, it could have been worse. Somebody should have kicked him in the dick.
So the delayed response runs contrary to commonly taught active shooter protocol established after Columbine. To stop the shooter. Also, Columbine was in 1999.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. That was when I was in high
Anyway,
school and this shit started.
I wasn't in high school, but I still, I remember it being a very big deal. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I was from Tawas, as I already said. The shooters were from Oscoda. Well, one of the shooters, sorry. One of the shooters was originally from Oscoda, which is about 20 minutes away. So it was a very big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, um, the delayed response runs contrary to commonly taught active shooter protocol established after Columbine to stop the shooter as quickly as possible and even bypass helping the injured. Like, it actually makes sense because you're trying to prevent further loss of life. You have somebody come in behind you to administer aid, or you take out the shooter and then administer aid. It makes sense. I, anyway, the levels of failure are just incredible, beyond belief. That is the former acting Baltimore police commissioner. Alfred Garza, the father of 10-year-old Amerie Joe Garza, who was killed in the attack, says he believes someone should be held accountable for the delayed response. They should have reacted quicker. Had they done that, maybe we would have had a different result. Parents were trying to force their way into the school and kill the gunmen themselves, but officers wouldn't let them. One father asked the officers to give him their gear, and they should have done it.
Yeah. Yep.
If you don't have the fucking balls to save children from a shooter, why are you wearing that uniform? What I mean, obviously I'm all for abolition of the police anyway, and this just proves that fucking point that they
Yep.
are useless and we would be better off with community-based patrols, but hey, what the fuck do I know? I'm just a
Right.
crazy communist.
At least the actual members of the community gave enough of a fuck to want to go in there and stop this. The pigs didn't. They were more concerned about their own fucking skin than about children. Little kids. This is a classroom of fourth graders. We're talking like 8, 9 year olds, little children. Even the ones who survived are fucking traumatized. One of the kids said that when the police
Well,
were
if you're
coming in
talking
the
about the
building,
8-year-old, we're going to be watching that video.
of the one who said that the cops were saying holler help if you need help, and a little girl said help please, and the shooter found her because of her saying help and killed her. That, yeah,
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 yeah.
that's so fucked up.
So Victor Luna is his father's name, said, quote, I told the officers myself, if they didn't want to go in there, let me borrow his gun and a vest and I'll go in there myself and I'll handle it. They told me no. Uvalde Police Chief Daniel Rodriguez issued a statement Thursday defending his officers' response to the shooting, saying, quote, it is important for our community to know that our officers responded within minutes. Yeah, and hung out outside.
Yeah. Responding requires more than just showing up and standing outside. That's not responding. If it doesn't matter if you're there if you're not doing anything.
So, yeah, exactly. So McCraw also revealed it's set up there who McCraw was. I'm not scrolling back up. How further details about how the gunman was able to enter the school unobstructed. Ramos first shot his grandmother at her home, then took her truck and crashed it into a ditch near the school at 11:28. He exited the vehicle with a long rifle and ammo and shot at 2 men across the street, who he missed. A school teacher who had propped open a lockback door saw the crashing gunman and went to call 911. That was the initial call to the school at 11:30, leaving the door propped. The school resource officer, who now apparently was not on the campus at the time, heard the 911 call and rushed to the school, but drove past the suspect, who was hunkered down behind a vehicle. Then the gunman moved toward the school parking lot and began shooting into classroom windows. The gunman entered the school via a prop door at 11:33 and went to the adjoining classrooms 111 and 112 and continued shooting, which
why was the door propped open? Why were the doors not locked to make sure that
the teacher, and I am not trying to point the blame at the teachers. She was obvious, well, she or he, it doesn't even say, was probably in a state of panic, not thinking clearly, but the door was propped open, and that's how they saw the gunman when they called 911. Hindsight's always 20/20, but damn it, she should have fucking closed the door.
Right.
That being said, the front doors were not locked anyway. The school wasn't locked down. Which, as much as I hate active shooter drills, that's standard now. Why did this school not lock down?
Right. That's the thing. Most schools anymore are constantly locked down, where in order to actually gain entry, you have to show your license or student ID, or, be, one of the teachers or parents and be showing ID, etc. Not anybody is just fucking allowed to walk up in a school because of shit like this. Those doors should automatically lock when they're closed. The only time they should be propped open is as students are coming in at the beginning of the day and leaving at the end of the day. And as they're coming in, it should only be students getting allowed in, other than, any adults that actually have a reason to be there, showing fucking ID and giving cause for why they're there. This shouldn't have even been possible for him to gain entry.
No. 2 minutes later, so now we're up to 11:35. 2 minutes later, 7 officers arrived at the school and approached the locked classrooms where the gunman had barricaded himself. 2 officers were shot by the gunman from behind the door and suffered graze wounds. Yeah. Gunman fired 16 more rounds inside the locked classrooms between 11:37 and 11:44, and more officers arrived in the hallway. At about this time, Robb Elementary posted on its Facebook that the school was on lockdown due to gunshots in the area. It wasn't until the cops were on scene at the very earliest, 11:35, is when the school would have been considered locked down. But it never really was. Anyway, due to gunshots in the area is what the post said. In the area. So you mean to tell me that sometime 10 to 15 minutes after the start of the shooting, they still said gunshots in the area on their Facebook page?
Not on campus or in the building, but in the area. That could have been anywhere in the surrounding neighborhoods. Like, it seems to me they were being intentionally deceptive there.
Yeah. Okay, so this is where it starts to get hard to deal with. Outside the school, distraught parents began to arrive, desperate to know if their kids were even still alive. Inside the school, as many as 19 officers were in the hallway at 12:03. They're waiting for backup still at 12:50 when some off-duty fucking border patrol dudes sweep through and shoot the dude?
19 of them, one of him, and they still stood in the hallway like bitches.
But they remained outside the classroom waiting for further tactical team and equipment.
Those poor kids that survived this are never going to fucking trust the police. Never.
Never. They shouldn't. They shouldn't.
Yeah, nobody should. If this isn't a wake-up call to every fucking buddy that you cannot trust the police, not even to
They
protect
don't.
your children. Like there's something seriously wrong. I mean, for fuck's sake, that anybody is out there even defending the pigs, let alone fucking Biden. It's really fucking mind blowing. Just like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
So that was at 12:03. 19 officers in the hallway. At the same time, police received a 911 call from a girl who identified herself and whispered that she's in room 112. She stayed on the phone for 1 minute 23 seconds, called back at 12:10 saying that there were multiple people dead, called again 3 minutes later. Um, Members of a Border Patrol tactical team known as BORTAC arrived with shields at 12:15 p.m. The girl called 911 again and or at 12:16 and said there were 8 to 9 students alive. Another student called from room 111 a few minutes later, but hung up at the urging of another student. On a 911 call at 12:21, 3 gunshots can be heard. The gunman fired over 100 rounds in the first few minutes of the shooting. So, I mean, we're not talking about carefully placed shots. We're talking about
Spray.
spray. Gunfire after that was sporadic and aimed at the door. At this point, quote, the belief was that there may not be anybody living anymore, and the subject has now tried to keep law enforcement at bay or entice them to come in to die by suicide. Finally, at 12:50, the tactical team entered the room and shot and killed the suspect.
I'm just wondering how many fucking different types of occasions are the pigs gonna allow or be allowed to say, well, I feared for my life, so that's why others that are innocent are dead now, because I feared for my life. Fuck that. Fuck that. If you're that bitch made, what are you even doing taking the job?
So I'm probably going to butcher some of these names, but children who survived the shooting described what happened inside the school. Mia Cerrillo, age 11, smeared her friend's blood all over herself and played dead to survive. They were watching Lilo and Stitch when the teachers got word of a shooter in the building. One teacher went to lock the door, but the shooter was right there and shot out the door's window. As their teacher backed into the classroom, the gunman followed. He looked the teacher in the eye, said goodnight, and shot her. He then opened fire, shooting the other teacher and many of Mia's friends. The gunman went through a door into an adjoining classroom. Mia heard screams and more gunshots. When the firing stopped, the shooter started playing music that was, quote, sad, like you want people to die. I mean, that's kind of like, she's 11. Okay, any music that you hear in that moment is going to sound sad, regardless of what it actually is.
Right.
Mia and a classmate then smeared the blood of a friend on themselves and played dead. They managed to get a slain teacher's phone and call 911 for help. Jaden Perez, age 10, said when he and his classmates heard gunfire, his teacher locked the door and told them to hide and be quiet. Jaden was hiding near a storage area for backpacks. Other students were under tables. And he says he doesn't want to go back to school again. Do you blame him? Do you blame any of these fucking kids?
No, I wouldn't want to go back if I was them either. It's not fucking safe. You know? That's the thing. Like, there's a lot of people right now who are probably reconsidering doing homeschooling simply because of shit like this. If your kids aren't safe, guess what? Fuck all the bullshit arguments about, oh, well, kids need to have socialization at school. Yeah, guess what? They can get socialization in other areas, like making plans for play dates with
Parks?
friends who have kids, and yes, going to the park, things like that. If it's not safe to send them to school, keep them the fuck home. That's the only way you can keep your kids alive. Keep them the fuck home.
Well, out of school for sure, yeah. But
That's what
Jaden
I mean.
said that he doesn't. Jaden said that he doesn't want to go back to school again. The quote is no, because after what happened, I don't want to. I don't want anything to do with another shooting or me in the school, and I know it might happen again, probably.
Yep. Because look at this shit. When the pigs are gonna stand there fucking scared, um, or like James said, sounds like they're waiting on him to run out of ammo before they try to beat him up. Shit like that. Like
I mean,
they
that's
have
what
no
they do.
reason. Yeah, they have no reason to feel safe going back. None. None. When they can't trust the fucking adults around them that they've been told their whole short lives that are there to, protect the public, guess what? They're not. They're not. They're not willing to put their life on the line to protect you. This is fucked up that these little kids had to learn that the hard way. This is so fucked up. Yes, Natalie, absolutely. There needs to be easy access to free mental trauma treatment for life for families and children in the community. Absolutely. That's the, like we need universal health care any fucking ways that includes mental health care. And I would like to also specify. Okay, there's a lot of people just making blanketed statements about mental health care as if that's the only issue here. And I'll tell you, I know a lot of people who have mental health care issues who I can gladly trust with a gun in their hands. I have mental health care issues. Guess what? I am a gun owner. But you know what? I don't go around fucking shooting people. I would never want to shoot anybody. The only way I would ever shoot somebody, my life was directly in danger and I had to do so to stop them from killing me. But when it comes to very specific shit, like having management issues, fucking proclivity for violence, and entitlement to feeling entitled to cause harm, we have a fucking problem. We have a fucking problem. But that right there, that is the limit to which, mental health is linked to this. We don't need to do something blanketed of like, oh, if you have any kind of mental health issues at all, then you shouldn't be allowed to own a gun. No, but if you have these specific ones, no, you shouldn't be allowed to own a gun if you have specifically psychopathy and a desire to shed blood.
So this is the interview with the father, Jesse Rodriguez. I can't even imagine what he's going through right now.
Me neither.
So many questions tonight. There are some details coming out, but we are learning the gunman was in the classroom for an hour before being killed by tactical officers. And then on top of that, officials now say there was no school resource officer at the school. As you are hearing more of these details, what goes through your mind?
It's very upsetting. Me as a father, I would have just went in. I don't need nobody to tell me to go in and defend the armless children. Why wait? Take it upon your job, your officers of serving the peace and protect us, protect our children. And 1 hour being in there too long, that's just too much. Should have been within minutes. This man took it upon himself and harmed our children here, one at a time, in an ugly way. They didn't do nothing to him. Now, we're all scarred here. I believe the officers at that point should have went in and took control Not let this man finish off with them one at a time.
Jesse Rodriguez, we wish you peace and strength in the days ahead. Again, we are so sorry for your loss. Thank you for your time tonight.
Can you tell me a little bit about what that was like? What were you hearing, Edward Timothy?
Well, I was like hearing like loud noises.
What did
it
you
was
think
like
those
really
were?
loud.
What did you think they were?
Well, at first they sounded like something like was popping. Like
When you
kind of
were
like fireworks.
Oh, so when you heard the firework type sounds, you think it was far away from you or close to you?
It was like I heard like it like a little like far, but I heard it like really loud.
So it
Like
was
I
louder.
heard it like following me.
Edward Timothy, was your teacher with you
First
when you
we
heard
saw-
the sounds?
Yeah. Well, at first a lady came to the classroom and knocked on our doors with a purple shirt. She said, "Go and hide," and we turned off all the lights and went to the back of the classroom and put a desk in front of us, and we were hiding.
Did you know when the lady with the purple shirt came over, did you know why you were having to hide and close the door and turn off the lights?
Yes, I learned that we were having a real drill because we've practiced a lot, and I think we were safe because we practiced.
How many times had you had to practice a drill like that before?
Well, we started in kindergarten.
How are you feeling now? I mean, how did you sleep last night?
Well, I was sleeping with my mom and dad again because I was a little scared.
What are you afraid of now, Edward Timothy?
Well, I have the fear of guns now because I'm scared someone might shoot me.
Amber, when you hear your son say that, had he expressed that to you before ever, his fear?
No.
Huh?
No, this is my first time hearing this.
What's that like hearing that?
It breaks my heart.
Did you know some of the other children, Amber?
No, not personally.
I know that this is very emotional. It broke your heart to hear your son say he was afraid.
Yes.
Amber, what do you want to happen?
I just don't want because he was asking me, does he have to go to school next year? And I just don't want him to be afraid of school. I want him to continue learning and not be scared, of going back to school. Yes. I want him to have a normal life again. And yes.
2 days.
Okay, I will let this one play. I was gonna pause it and talk about that, but might as well. We talked about what this asshat said. Might as well watch it.
Days after the mass shooting at Robb Elementary, the story of what happened when the gunman arrived on the campus has fundamentally changed.
There's a lot of possibilities. I don't have enough information to answer that question just yet.
The new details revealed in a bewildering press conference with the Texas Department of Public Safety.
He walked in unrestricted initially. He was not confronted by anybody. To clear the record on that.
Police revised earlier reports that the gunman engaged with a school resource officer. According to investigators, 12 minutes passed when the suspect crashed his grandmother's truck on Tuesday morning and when he entered the school through an unlocked back door.
He went in at 11:40. He walks, and I'm going to approximate 20 feet, 30 feet. He makes a right. He walks into the hallway. He makes a right. walks another 20 feet, turns left into a schoolroom, into a classroom that has doors open in the middle. Officers are there, the initial officers, they receive gunfire. They don't make entry initially because of the gunfire they're receiving.
Police say most of the gunfire was in the initial minutes. There was a standoff for almost an hour before police forced their way into a classroom and killed him. The question remains why they couldn't get to the gunman sooner.
Can you explain to us how he was barricaded?
I hear you.
Because we've been given a lot of bad information, so why don't you clear all of this up?
Like shooting.
The brother was like hitting the dirt on the floor and just the bullets were hitting close. Bullets from where?
I guess he was coming from the school this way.
Parents were frustrated police wouldn't let them help save their children, despite safety procedures that keep people away from an active crime scene. Jesse Rodriguez lost his daughter in the shooting. He's angered by what he saw officers doing outside the school.
They should have moved in. You know what? I don't think they had a right to sit there on their ass waiting. You know, they should have moved in faster.
In all, more than 100 federal officers responded to the shooting, in addition to local police. For one young third grader hiding from the gunman, it seemed like even more.
All we saw were thousands of police and Border Patrol coming into the cafeteria. And we were all hiding behind the stage in the cafeteria when it happened.
The Uvalde School District did have a safety plan with a system in place to provide a safe and secure environment. 21 measures, including a locked door policy.
We're still trying to establish if there was any type of locking mechanisms on the doorway from the inside of the classroom because the gunman was able to barricade himself.
And Pamela, we are told tonight that there were a number of officers inside the school building that were taking fire from the shooter, and that those officers responding to the scene were taking cover from that gunfire inside the school. But there is still an hour where all of this is unfolding and still many questions left unanswered as to why at some point during that hour there weren't clear efforts made to breach that classroom where the gunman was.
Out front now is Larry Gatlin, a Grammy Award-winning musician and member of country trio, the Gatlin Brothers. Larry, thank you for coming on. So why are you taking this stand now to say enough is enough?
Well, I hope this next few minutes is not a total waste of time because I do not have a lot of answers. I can't answer that one.
Sorry, I missed the end of that video. I was trying to run out and grab a drink.
I figured you were actually letting that play because he was about to call out the NRA. He canceled his gig with them because of it.
Well, I mean, so Trump spoke at the NRA convention, right? And there was no guns and no knives allowed. Figure that one out.
So
I mean, I think
trust their own membership.
Well, I mean, I think that it probably had more to do with the fact that he's a former president. He's still got Secret Service protection for the rest of his life. So that was probably their call, not his. But
You think, though, that the NRA would have been like, well, no, we're the responsible gun owners, or, you know, some bullshit. Fucking... when they don't even trust their own membership to, you know, be carrying just because Trump's ass is there. Like, oh God. Is right. Just what the fuck.
So there is footage of the chaotic crowd outside the school, you know, like saying, "What are you doing? Get in the building." They're trapped inside. Things like that. You know, like, "What the fuck are you doing? You're a cop. You're supposed to be protecting and serving." We already talked about that quite a bit. You know, like they were saying things like, "Let's just rush in because the cops aren't doing anything anyway."
Right.
Cazares, who is a father who lost his 4th grade daughter in the attack, said that he wanted answers from local authorities as to why the shooter was not stopped before or during the attack. And he said, quote, "I am a gun owner and I do not blame the weapons used in the tragedy. I am angry about how easy it is to get one and how young you can be to purchase one." So why that's relevant, Ramos was carrying an AR type rifle, which he had bought the week before when he turned 18.
Mm-hmm.
He purchased one of the rifles on, he purchased one of the rifles on May 17th and the other the following day. And the following day he bought 375 rounds of ammunition. He purchased another rifle May 20th, so 2 days after the ammo, and posted pictures of them both on Instagram. His mother told Daily Mail that her son, quote, "wasn't a violent person," and she was surprised that he opened fire, but admitted her son was someone who kept to himself and did not have many friends. Don't demonize the loners either. She denied that they had a poor relationship, but would not address claims that she was a drug addict whose son ditched her to live with his grandmother. Neighbors say their relationship was strained, recounting that Adriana and her son would also often have screaming matches, resulting in police being called on multiple occasions. Ramos's classmate claimed he'd call his mom a dumb bitch and say she wanted to kick him out. He'd be screaming and talking to his mom really aggressively. She spoke to him last. I'm sorry, what was that?
You paused like you're waiting for me to pick up. I'm trying to scroll to where we're at in the actual Google Docs app because of how that was displaying fucked up on my screen. So I'm trying to find where you're at right now.
Gotcha. She last spoke to him last Monday on his birthday, adding, "I had a card and Snoopy stuffed animal to give him." You should be able to find that next line because I put a bunch of capital R's in front of Ramos.
Just got to it. Yep. Perfect timing. Yeah.
Ramos's father has a criminal record, with the most recent arrest being in 2011 when he was arrested for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and possession of marijuana. The relationship with his son is unclear, so why even bring him up? That's interesting. Ronaldo Reyes, Ramos's grandfather, said he had no idea that his grandson had purchased 2 AR-15s, nor that he kept them in the house. Reyes, a convicted felon, is not allowed to have guns inside his home, and if he knew weapons were there, he would have turned in his grandson. At school, Ramos was a bullied loner, picked on because of a lisp, a habit of wearing eyeliner, and because he came from a poor family. Santos Valdez, former friend of Ramos, said he used to play online shooting games such as Fortnite and Call of Duty with him until the pair stopped talking as Ramos's behavior deteriorated. So I do have to say that the information for this did come from mainstream sources. So I feel like I have to point out that I don't like how they're trying to paint a narrative about him. Right. I'm not saying that bullying doesn't affect things like this. It absolutely does. But I mean, he was a loner.
Most
he played
kids
video games.
Though, and go and do a school shooting, go to their own fucking school and shoot the bullies. He didn't do that. He went and shot a school full of elementary kids.
Well, I mean, Columbine, the bullies got killed, yeah, but so did a bunch of other kids.
I'm not saying that they aren't killing, people who didn't participate in the bullying. I'm just saying typically when it's the bullying being like that last straw that makes them snap and go do some shit, they go for the bullies, or at least where the bullies are at. Even if it's, spraying bullets, stupidly and taking out whoever the fuck you can, they at least usually you know, most of these cases where that's been a trigger point have gone for where the bullies are. There's no fourth graders bullying your 18-year-old ass.
I don't like that they're bringing up video games, although there is a role of video games. These kids aren't properly introduced to firearms. Okay? The experience that this kid had with firearms is Call of Duty. That's it.
Right. And well, the thing is, I think there is a little bit of legitimacy to even bringing this up, because when it comes to somebody's maturity level and or understanding of reality is not the same as in a fucking game, I do have to question.
I don't know, man. I've been playing video games.
Me too.
For a long time.
Dude, one of my favorite games when I was a little kid was Wolfenstein. One of the first fucking games ever, but you don't see me doing this shit. But I also didn't have a fucking disconnect with reality. And I have to wonder, like, is there a facet of somebody not grasping, like, when you shoot somebody in real life, they don't fucking respawn. This is not a game. There's permanence to what you're doing with a real gun in the real world versus playing Call of Duty, you know? And I mean, at least in my generation, and most of us still had enough fucking sense to go, okay, that's a different thing than real life. But, you know, we also weren't left ignorant about the real use of guns either. And that's a problem when somebody can go and buy a couple of rifles when he doesn't have experience with you know, why is there not even like some kind of classes being fucking required to make sure you know how to use it and understand its fucking effects? At least during those classes, somebody could get somewhat of a gauge for whether this person is in touch with reality or not, especially if you're taking multiple classes to get there. They might be able to go, wait, I see a red flag. This person doesn't understand reality and probably shouldn't get a license to purchase this weapon. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, the point is, though, it seems very much like, as always, the media is trying to point the finger at video games or at, I mean, even being a loner. Holy fuck, dude. Like,
right. And the thing is, it's not the video game's fault. It's the people around them that aren't fucking making sure that, you know, somebody is even like actually in touch with reality. And, you know, there's a lot going on here. You know, there's other facets as far as like, how the fuck are we raising white males in this country when almost all of the school shootings that have ever happened have been committed by white males? There is that fucking sense of entitlement that comes with living in a white supremacist and patriarchal driven society, combined with toxic masculinity telling boys that, you know, anger, rage, those things, those are okay for you to feel, but not empathy for another person's existence. And that is a driving force in disconnecting people from reality. That's what I'm getting at. It's not the video game's fault. It's fucking society's fault.
Yep. Anyway, Valdez recalls that Ramos once showed up to the park with cuts all over his face, first blaming being scratched by a cat before admitting he did it to himself with a knife. So, you know, that's pretty fucking crazy. Steven Garcia, who considered himself Ramos's best friend in 8th grade, said he was bullied by a lot of people, including for a photo of himself wearing eyeliner, which led to gay taunts. That is an issue that the LGBTQ people struggle with every day, right? And they don't go out and commit mass murder.
Hell, I know lots of straight guys who are just musicians and wear the fuck out of some guy liner, and they're not insecure about it. And if somebody tried picking on them about it, they'd be like, because they're not fucking insecure. That's
Right.
another facet.
Ramos dropped out of school when he moved away to another part of the state, and the two of them lost touch. A coworker at Wendy's said Ramos walked around with a pair of boxing gloves at the park, asking people to fight him and filming it. He also menaced coworkers, asking the cooks, "Do you know who I am?" He was rude towards females and would send them inappropriate texts. Jocelyn.
Sorry, I got to interrupt there. There's egomaniacal shit. They're overcompensating for insecurities. And right there, what you just said in that last sentence is that patriarchal fucking shit and toxic men.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't like trying to rant about it, because there's a spot where we already bring it up.
Yeah.
That's where you should have put that rant, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Hey, guess what? I only got just now, in a moment ago, to the point where I could read all of the text, because for those of you at home watching,
I know.
My phone split the shit up where some of it was paragraphs and some of it was one letter at a time going down in strips, and I was like, I can't even read that, bro. So,
yeah, which is weird because it's not like that in the file at all. It has to be because you had it open in a browser, not in the app.
I had it open from where you sent it to me in Messenger. So apparently that's a Facebook Messenger display issue. But anyway, he's got a big ass ego on him and he's sexist.
Yep. Yeah.
Jocelyn Rodriguez, 19, said that when she first heard Ramos was the shooter, she was initially shocked but then less surprised. She knew him to have a bad temper and to snap at people. Earlier this month, she said he started picking fights with coworkers again and bargaining about quitting his job, saying he no longer needed the money. He told us.
I think that was supposed to say bragging.
It kind of made me wonder there a little bit of like, is he trying to like manipulate people of like, I don't need this job anymore. And to me, that would be like, okay, so did you get a new job, or are you planning on doing something where you expect to get killed? When it's combined with all the other shit, as far as his behavior going.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I mean, a lot of those things are small on their own. I mean, everybody can have a bad temper at times. I snap at people sometimes. Earlier this month, he started picking fights with his coworkers again. I mean, that's a lot more common than it should be.
Right.
A lot of jobs are stressful, especially working in food service. He worked at Wendy's. If it was a busy Wendy's,
it was probably really shitty.
But when you combine it with all of this, especially this last bit, he told others he was going to act out in a big way and they would all hear about it.
Yep.
Hello?
Quote, he wanted to cause trouble. Another quote, he wanted to cause destruction. There's literally multiple people he contacted the day of. He told one person that he was going to shoot his grandma. Then afterwards, he messaged either, I don't know if it was the same person or somebody else, but he sent another message out saying that he had just shot his grandma, and he shot out another message saying that he was going to go shoot a school up. So how did none of this fucking even get responded to? I mean, when he was telling people ahead of time that he was going to fucking do something that they would all hear about, combined with all these other things, excuse me, red flag, red flag, red flag. There's a fucking pile of them. Somebody should have done a mental health check on this kid before this ever came to this fucking point. Because he's clearly displaying a lot of the things that are listed on the diagnostic fucking criteria for being a psychopath. With violent tendencies and a desire to kill. Those are your mental health red flags. This is not a generalization, a fucking broadly sweeping thing of like, oh, anybody with mental health issues. No, these are very specific things that you find in common with the fucking behavior of people who do this shit. And they're all right there in quotes from the people who knew him.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is going to be in good taste, but I don't actually care. Let's have a little fun with this, right? Try to make that bigger. Let me try to make that bigger. Whoa!
There we go. Now, whoa, yeah, too far. Okay.
Hold on. So this aged like milk. This is from the Uvalde Police Department, stating that their SWAT team would be visiting the schools, the Classical Academy, and local businesses to familiarize themselves with layouts of schools and businesses. They were in full tactical uniform. They didn't want the public to be alarmed, hence this post. But these comments.
Tough. Oh my God. Yep.
Is cowering while babies die and brutalizing terrified parents the protect part or the serve part? I'm confused.
Right.
This be all.
Right. Super troopers.
You fucking low-life cowards have no business showing your faces in public ever again. If there was any justice in this world, your pig pensions would be defunded and used to pay the funeral expenses of the victims. As far as I'm concerned, you're all accomplices. Rotten hell, every single fucking last one of you.
Yep.
Spike Cohen. Okay, so like, obviously we differ greatly on a lot of political issues, but sometimes he's on fucking point. And this is one of those times. Hi, Uvalde SWAT team. Why did you stand outside of the school and instead of stopping the active shooter, focus instead on threatening and arresting the horrified parents outside who are begging you to do something? And here's the footage of you doing it.
Right.
So for those that don't know who Spike is, he was the vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party in 2020. Yeah. Anyway, what were you saying?
I was just to say, for context, like this original post was from 2020, and look at how many people have found it in the last day and started dragging these motherfuckers because fuck their shit. It's sad that it takes something like this for people to realize that the cops do not fucking serve you.
The obligatory all cops are bastards comment.
Yep. This is not a defund the police moment. This is a fucking abolish them moment.
Cool costumes, guys. Makes you look like actual law enforcement. I guess this was taken before you collectively pissed your pants.
Right.
I mean, dude, even when stand united against the mandate, okay, like we're talking about like Trumpers, QAnon type people, like, hey, you're fucked up. These are legit back the blue people being like, what the fuck was that?
Right.
All you people know is the hammer, and all you use it for is to protect wealth.
Yep. Which ones of you went inside? Wait, scroll back up, because they're getting called out right there for going inside and saving their own kids, and then come outside and hold parents down. Yeah, I would love to know specifically which fucking ones they belong in prison.
Wow, clearly this lesson stuck. Oh, God. Yeah, anyway, I just wanted to have some fun looking at the comments. As you see, they are not well liked.
Nor should they be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What,
yeah.
What the fuck? I mean, it was only about a month ago that the subway shooting happened, and mysteriously, none of the fucking cameras in the area worked. And they're in New York City, that has probably the highest. It's at least amongst the first few highest fucking ratio of cop to population. And nobody was around to stop that shit.
Right.
They couldn't find him. He supposedly turned himself in. How many more times does this public need to see that the cops are a waste of fucking money? Like, why? What are we paying them to do? They're not protecting you. They're not serving you. They're out here killing people who are fucking innocent. It's time to fucking abolish them. This is sickening. This is fucking sickening.
So here's your retired federal agent thing. It was about Buffalo, not about Uvalde.
Okay.
Investigators believe a retired federal agent may have been privy to the Buffalo supermarket shooter's plot more than 30 minutes before he opened fire. I mean, if you want to pull it up, I can open up the images of the plans and supplies that he had for the shooting. This one, I want to, before we dive too deep into this, I want to say that the reason that we're talking about this, even though it happened like 2 weeks ago, is because of the white supremacist aspect of it, right? There are a lot of white supremacists and a lot of actual Nazi groups that are active in that region. There's a retired federal fucking agent in the same fucking race hate forum. I'm just saying.
Right. Well,
the former agent, who has not been named, by the way. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask, since you already have that file pulled up on your computer itself, can you pull up the screen share while I read through this? Because I just tried to find it in Slack and it's buried too deep. I can't even find where I popped that link. But yeah, the former agent that they haven't named yet is believed to be from Texas. He was one of 6 people who regularly communicated with the accused murderer, Peyton Gendron, 18, in an online racist hate forum.
This kid.
Yep. The agent and other members of Gendron's group would regularly chat online about their hatred of Jews and non-whites. Sources allege that Gendron shared his mass shooting plans and details about the target locations about a half hour before he attacked the upstate New York supermarket on May 14th. It's not clear if the agent accepted Gendron's invitation to review his plans or if the individual read them. However, officials confirmed that none of the 6 invitees contacted authorities to warn about the shooting. FBI is also trying to uncover the true identity of an individual that Gendron referred to as Sandman and Saint Sandman in his online diaries published on Discord. The gunman's post suggests Sandman counseled him on weaponry before the attack. Sandman had told the teen, quote, "When the time finally comes to deal decisively with a whole host of society's problems and not go to prison for it, you'll know. Just be ready. You have spent your entire life from the day you were born right up to this very moment reading this sentence, coming to where you are right now. Look around you. Are you content with where you are right now? And where do you want it to be? If so, continue to march. If not, what are you going to do? What's your plan? Get and keep your mind, body, and spirit right. Pray, life, run, read, shoot, and teach your kids to do these things." I imagine he meant to say live there, not life. But either way, like, he's encouraging this kid to go do this shit. When carrying out the attack, Gendron was wearing body armor and used an Armalite rifle. He's being charged with murder and held without bail. The shooting is being investigated as a hate crime, of course, clearly. If you have not seen his manifesto, he literally went on a huge fucking racist rant there. He said that he wasn't raised to be racist, but he became racist in the last couple of years because of reading Reddit forums and Discord forums where these White Lives Matter and neo-Nazi fucks are kicking out statistics about things like, oh, there's a lower white birth rate. And it's like, there's a lower birth rate across the fucking board, for one. That does not equal your fucking imagined white genocide that you want to pretend is happening here, because that's what they're saying. They're calling it the Great Replacement Theory. This is all delusional fucking shit. And look, they're getting little kids, teenagers, following them and absorbing all of this fucking bullshit and going on fucking massacres of hatred. This is fucked up. And these groups have been growing in number massively over the last couple of years. This is insane. Matter of fact, a lot of his fucking manifesto is pretty much verbatim what you will find on these Reddit pages and Discord pages, etc., that are under White Lives Matter or under the neo-Nazi groups that are in the area. There's a lot of them. It's fucking disturbing. It's fucking disturbing. Law enforcement sources allege that 6 people under FBI investigation were invited to view the plan. The Washington Post reported last week that 15 people had also accepted an invitation to the private Discord group where Gendron posted the plans and later live streamed the killings. It remains unclear exactly how many people had prior knowledge about the attack. The investigators are continuing their work to obtain, verify, and review Gendron's online postings and have been examining all of his documents. Attorneys familiar with the case say it's not surprising that an ex-law enforcement agent may have been involved. Attorney Terrence M. McConnors said, as outrageous as this may sound, based upon what we are finding in our investigation, it's not surprising. He represents several of the victims' family members. He declined to provide any details about the investigation or the evidence. But Gendron appeared in Buffalo court last week for pretrial felony hearings. He remained silent throughout the proceeding, despite being heckled by a victim's distraught family member who yelled out, "Peyton, you're a coward." The first-degree murder indictment, which covers all 10 deaths, was handed up on May 18th. In New York, prosecutors can charge a defendant with first-degree murder only under special circumstances, including when multiple people are killed in a single incident. No domestic terror charges have been filed in federal court at this time. They fucking better.
I will interject there to say that if they do happen, it's not going to be right away. I do hope that he gets federal charges, the hate crime charges. It is. And I also want to just point out that, wow, brain fart. Domestic terror charges. Yeah. Okay. So that needs to happen, right? As you already said, his manifesto is rife with racist talking points, with the great replacement theory, conspiracy bullshit, and with a lot of other National Socialist talking points. And then for the media to be coming at this, I mean, I've seen several media outlets literally call him a leftist. The Nazis weren't leftists, they were fascists.
Right. The only socialism they ever want is only for white people at the expense of every fucking buddy else. If you are a fucking racist, you can't be on the left. You're not on the left. You are on the extreme far right when you have racism and fascism in your fucking beliefs. Don't care what kind of economic shit you'd like to fucking work out and taint with your bullshit. That's not left.
James, that's exactly what we're talking about, James. Klan guys don't care. They openly try to recruit. We had one that actually left business cards at businesses here and talked to teens. That's the problem.
Yeah.
These white supremacist groups, these paramilitary organizations, these National Socialist groups, these other neo-Nazi groups, They're all actively recruiting. They're all actively training.
Right.
They have been.
In the area that this kid is from, too. Okay,
yes.
Look, New England is fucked with this stuff right now. Especially New Hampshire, Vermont, and they are working their way into other areas like Connecticut and even trying to get into New Jersey. Like, they aren't even just sticking to, their typical shit of marching through their towns that are 98% white. They are moving into communities of color and trying to cause harm there too. There's a fucking problem. This shit has been exploding out of New England for the last year and a half. They're not just recruiting.
I would say
either.
How long ago was Charlottesville?
I
mean, it's all pretty much been.
Yeah.
So I would say it's pretty much been since then.
Right. It's been snowballing.
It's just ramping up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This shit's so fucked up. Like, these guys, specifically NSC 131, a year ago only had like 60 members out of like New Hampshire. Now they have thousands, not even single digit thousands, like double digit thousands all over the place. They have started.
And it's not just New England either. They're in almost every state.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they've exploded from there over the past year. They have gone from having a very small number of them right there in New Hampshire and Vermont surrounding area to having White Lives Matter fucking groups in almost every fucking state, if not every one of them by now. And they have memberships that I've looked through the stuff. Each one of them has tens of thousands of people in there. Like, one of them went from 0 to 12,000 members in a matter of a couple of months. There's a fucking problem here. These racist fucks are directly targeting white working class people. And instead of addressing that the economy's fucked and the government's fucked, they're pointing their finger at anybody that's not fucking Aryan and going, there's your problem.
Well, and pointing the finger at the government for getting us here.
Right. But that's as far as that goes. Not maybe that this is a fucking illegitimate government to start and that it's fucked. No, because then they'd have to try to, deal with the cognitive dissonance of this is a government that was built by and for white wealthy men.
So on the issue of white supremacy, neither one of us, I don't think, have a date for it yet, but we will be having a piece where we dive pretty deep into that. We're going to have some guests for it. I'm not going to give away who the guests are yet. There will be at least a familiar face, maybe a couple of familiar faces. And it's a conversation that frankly needs to happen. And when we announce it, I'm really hoping that you guys will help us promote it, because we need to get the word out about how big of an issue this is. And it doesn't matter where people are watching from. It's an issue there.
Right. I guarantee you, fucking go on Reddit or go on Discord, go on any fucking social media and just search for White Lives Matter or just WLM, and then your state, you're going to find one of these fucking Nazi groups. They're there. They're not hiding anything. They're openly, publicly talking about all of this shit.
Exactly. And they have a list of dates that actions are supposed to happen on, and one of those dates was the Buffalo shooting. And I mean, sure, actions might not have happened on the first handful of dates, but somebody did it.
Well, it might not have been an actual killing that those actions resulted in. There could be some shit that happened that we're just not aware of because it wasn't big enough to actually catch national news. I don't know. Because some people see the word action, they go, okay, we're going to go fucking march through town waving our Nazi flags. And somebody else, like this motherfucker, is like, oh, that's the day I should go kill people. But they're not announcing on these posters the locations, just the dates of when they expect people in their ranks to fucking act. And you don't know what it's going to be.
Nope. Ooh.
And Natalie, you're correct. Hitler left the word socialist in the party name and name only. Because, yeah, they definitely fucking let go of any economic system fixing there because they went capitalist as fuck in order to get the support of the capitalists in Germany. But, that's where a lot of people get that fucked up and actually, they don't really know the Nazis were not leftist then. And
well, and I mean, yeah, exactly. Even when it was even before they went like hyper capitalist, they were still not socialistic. Okay, so like here's the thing, right? If Nazi Germany was socialist, do you think the Soviets would have, lost 20 million people fighting them off, or would they have just given up? Honestly.
Yeah.
If they were actually socialist. No, they moved into places like Ukraine and started setting up death camps, and the Soviets were like, oh, hell no.
Right. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, the Nazis currently in Ukraine, they're the spawn of the Nazis that were already in Ukraine back then. They had their own section of the Holocaust happen there, slaughtering Jewish and Romani people. And it's just
and communists. Now let's not forget how many communists were killed.
Yes. And they've just added as far as ethnicity goes to the list of attacking ethnic Russians, which is why Russia stepped in right now, because we've had 8 years straight since this Nazi coup of them slaughtering ethnic Jews, ethnic Romani, ethnic Russians, all in the Donbas region. Like, they're still there.
And our own media covered it very differently than they did after February 24th. I'll leave that at that.
Yep. It was all, what the fuck, there's Nazis in Ukraine, until Russia moved in, and then they're like, oh, wait, no, it's a long story. No, it's not a long story. They're wearing the black sun. They're fucking using just a slanted swastika on their flag. A swastika is a swastika. It's still a fucking swastika. They're fucking Nazis.
Yeah. Anyway, that's about all I have for today, I think.
Give me 1 second to check Slack because my brain's telling me there's something else. Oh, Burkina Faso update. Yeah. Give me just a moment. I will copy and paste the link if I can. Is it going to let me? It doesn't want to let me. Well, here. Are you going to open it? There we go. Okay. Just screen share this tab here. And there we go. There's a photo of what's going on there. Give me a second to get back over to Slack. The local miners occupied and looted a UK-owned Houndé gold mine in Burkina Faso after they were expelled. And if I could get it to open the article, that would be great. Let me see if this will let me scroll through the photos. Of course not. Damn it. Since it opened that way, it doesn't want to do it. Give me a second. Let's see if it'll let me just screen share directly from Slack. Yes, it will. Okay. There we go. Sorry, they're kind of small. There it is. But here's the photos going through here. This is decolonization in practice. Happening in real time. They set some shit on fire. Go Burkina Faso workers. Just wanted to show you guys what's going on there now because the workers in Burkina Faso are fighting back. Stop the screen share. I'm sorry that's not letting me actually open the article that was attached to that. Or I'm sorry, maybe I can get to it from the Twitter link and I can actually read you some more details here. Because this is pretty fucking exciting. Let me see if that links it. Ooh, there's video. Why isn't it? Oh, I see. There we go. Okay. Can you hear that?
Yeah, very loud. There, I got it.
Okay. Just a shorty repeating there, but God, whoever was holding the camera is making me dizzy. But anyway, just wanted to give them a shout out for doing some good work there, standing up against colonizers.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to see more of that.
Absolutely. May their fires light a fire under your asses. Sometimes setting shit on fire gets shit done. Just saying. Even looking at our own history of what were unions doing 100 years ago? Setting trains on fire.
Withholding the mail.
Yeah.
I mean, not technically, but that's what they were charged with sedition for.
Right. Crazy
Yeah.
shit. But
yeah, it really is. Head over to forwearemany.org, use the search feature, and look for Eugene Debs, and you will you can find our pieces on Eugene Debs, and we'll talk about that. He was also involved in several of the events that we've done historical pieces on. If he was part of the story, he should be tagged in them. Therefore, if you search for Eugene V. Debs on the website, those should also pop up.
Yeah. The Haymarket piece is also kind of tied in with that. There's a few of them. Yeah.
Indeed. Anyway, I hope you all are having a wonderful Friday night. And, well,
thank you for joining us for the Pitch-a-Bitch session. It was neat.
Yeah.
This world is fucked up.
Community patrols, sorry. Abolish the police. Power to the people.
Fucking A.
That's all I got. Is that a good place to end it?
Sounds good. Yeah. Can hit the music and do the thing. And here's a slide to look at. And there's all the places where you can find us, as well as where you can join the material support team. Thank you all for joining us. We love you. Have a good night. Be safe. Invest in Kevlar if you can.